Imagine waking up one random Tuesday morning in 2036. You check your investment account before brushing your teeth. And overnight, while you slept, your money made more than you did working all week. No crypto gamble, no lottery ticket, no get-rich-quick course, no secret billionaire trick, just math. Cold, patient, relentless math. And here's the part most people completely miss. The hardest money you will ever make in your life is your first $100,000. Not your first million, your first 100,000. Because after that, the entire game changes. Your portfolio starts working harder than you do. Your stress changes. Your relationship with work changes. Your tolerance for bad bosses changes. Your future changes. But almost nobody reaches this point. Not because they're stupid, not because they're lazy, not because they don't earn enough. They quit during the invisible phase, the phase where progress feels painfully slow, the phase where investing feels pointless, the phase where your friends look richer than you because they spend everything. That's where most people walk away. Right before the formula starts becoming unfair in their favor. And in this video, I'm going to show you why $100,000 is the most important financial milestone in America today. The exact mathematical moment your money begins outperforming your labor. Why most Americans stay trapped financially even with decent salaries. The 3 wealth thresholds that completely change your life. And why someone earning $70,000 can quietly become wealthier than people making $250,000. By the end of this video, you'll understand why wealth is less about intelligence and more about surviving long enough for compound interest to become unstoppable. And trust me, once you see the numbers, you'll never look at money the same way again. America teaches people a dangerous idea, that wealth comes from earning more, that if you just land the bigger salary, finally get the promotion, start the side hustle, make 6 figures, everything changes. But if income alone created wealth, professional athletes wouldn't go broke, doctors wouldn't carry massive debt, and people earning $250,000 a year wouldn't still feel trapped. The truth is uncomfortable. Income can make you look rich, but ownership makes you wealthy. And there is a massive difference between the two. A rich person buys liabilities. A wealthy person buys cash flow. One spends money to impress strangers. The other spends money buying freedom from dependence. And this difference compounds over decades until 2 people with similar incomes end up living completely different lives. One is stressed at 58. The other can walk away from toxic situations without panic. That's the actual goal. Not Lamborghinis, not private jets, not internet fantasy lifestyles. Freedom. Freedom to say no. Freedom to leave. Freedom to breathe. And all of it starts with understanding one thing. Money behaves differently at different levels. $10,000 behaves one way. 100,000 behaves differently. 1,000,000 behaves like an entirely different organism. Most people never experience these shifts because they stop too early. They mistake the slow beginning for failure. But wealth is not linear. It's exponential. And the human brain is terrible at understanding exponential growth. Picture yourself standing at the top of a massive snowy mountain. In your hands is a tiny snowball, softball size, barely holding together. You place it on the ground and push. Nothing happens. Second push, still tiny. Third push, still disappointing. After 5 minutes, barely looks different. And this is the exact moment most people quit investing. Because effort feels disconnected from reward. They sacrifice dinners, delay purchases, say no to vacations, automate contributions. And after years of discipline, Their account still doesn't look life-changing, so they stop. But what they fail to understand is this: the beginning of compounding is supposed to feel slow. That's not a flaw. That's the formula working exactly as designed. Because eventually, the snowball becomes large enough that gravity takes over. Now the mountain starts helping. The snowball picks up more snow automatically. Momentum builds momentum. And suddenly, what once required enormous effort starts accelerating almost on its own. That's exactly what happens with money. In the beginning, you are carrying the entire system. Later, your portfolio carries itself, and eventually, your money starts carrying you. That's the stage most people never reach, not because they were incapable, because they walked away during the slow climb. There's a famous quote from Charlie Munger: "The first $100,000 is a bump, but you gotta do it." And financially speaking, he was absolutely right. Because at $100,000, compound interest starts becoming visible. Let's run the numbers. You start with $10,000. You invest $500 every month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Historically, the market averages around 7% annually after inflation. Not hype, not fantasy. Real historical data. After 1 year, your portfolio is roughly $17,000. You sacrificed, stayed disciplined, and your returns are still tiny. That's emotionally brutal. Year 3, around $33,000. Still not exciting. Year 5, around $56,000. Now things begin shifting. But year 8, you cross $100,000. And this is where the formula changes. At 7% annual growth, $100,000 generates roughly $7,000 per year passively. You're contributing $6,000 annually, meaning your money is now producing more than you are. Think about that. You're sitting in traffic. Your portfolio grows. You're in a pointless meeting. Your portfolio grows. You're asleep. Your portfolio grows. The snowball has started pushing itself. And here's what most people don't realize. Getting from $100,000 to $200,000 becomes dramatically faster than getting from $10,000 to $100,000. Because now you have a second worker. Compound interest. And unlike you, compound interest never sleeps. The average American isn't poor because they don't work hard. Most people work incredibly hard. The real problem is lifestyle inflation. Every raise becomes permission to spend more. Bigger apartment, new car, higher payment, more subscriptions, better restaurants. Income rises, but freedom never arrives. And corporations understand this perfectly. Modern consumer culture is engineered to interrupt compounding. Every ad you see has one mission: convince you to spend today what could transform your future tomorrow. Because financially disciplined people are terrible consumers. Think about it. A person maxing out retirement accounts, driving an older paid-off car, cooking at home, ignoring status purchases, is economically invisible to luxury brands. So society constantly pressures people toward visible spending. And unfortunately, most people confuse appearance with success. The irony? The millionaire next door rarely looks rich. The truly wealthy often appear financially ordinary. Because wealth isn't what you spend. Wealth is what you keep. Time matters more than talent. And the market rewards consistency more than brilliance. Let me prove it. Investor A starts investing at age 25, just $500 per month, at 7% annual returns. By age 65, they have roughly $1.4 million. Investor B waits until age 35. Same investment, same returns, same discipline. Final result? Around $680,000 less. That 5-year delay cost them nearly $750,000. Not because they lost money, because they lost time. And time is the raw fuel compound interest consumes. This is why wealthy older investors obsess over starting early. Because eventually they realize the most expensive purchases in life are often forgettable. The expensive vacations, impulse upgrades, lifestyle creep, the things that felt urgent at 29, rarely matter at 59. But the compounding you sacrificed absolutely matters. That's the hidden tragedy. Most financial mistakes don't feel dangerous in the moment. They feel normal. And normal, repeated for decades, becomes destiny. Now we reach the level where wealth stops being theoretical. At around $650,000 invested, your portfolio begins generating approximately $45,000 annually at historical market averages. That's life-changing. Not because you're retired, but because your relationship with fear changes. This is where optionality appears. You can survive layoffs. You can leave toxic workplaces. You can negotiate differently. You stop sounding desperate, and people absolutely notice. There's a psychological difference between "I need this paycheck to survive" and "I work because I choose to." Managers can hear it. Clients can feel it. The energy changes completely. This is why wealth quietly creates confidence, not arrogance, calm. Because dependence creates fear, and freedom removes it. A person with no savings tolerates almost anything. A person with runway behaves differently. And here's what's fascinating. From the outside, nobody may even know you're wealthy. Your life may still look normal. But internally, everything changes. Most people think market crashes destroy wealth. Historically, they often create it. Because wealthy investors understand something emotionally difficult. A falling market is not automatically a broken market. It's often discounted ownership. Imagine your favorite business suddenly goes on sale 30% off. Most people would buy more. But when stocks go on sale, people panic. Why? Because humans confuse price movement with permanent reality. This is why emotional control matters more than financial intelligence. During crashes, people sell future wealth to escape temporary discomfort. And historically, that decision has destroyed enormous fortunes. The investors who continued buying during 2008, 2020, and every major downturn were purchasing assets at massive discounts. Those moments felt terrifying in real time. But later, they became wealth-building opportunities. This is why disciplined investing often feels emotionally wrong, because human survival instincts were not designed for stock markets. They were designed for physical danger. And the market exploits emotional reactions constantly. Fear says, protect yourself. But long-term wealth says, stay invested. And that tension separates investors from spectators. Now let's talk about the number everyone obsesses over. $1 million. At 7% annual returns. $1 million generates roughly $70,000 per year. Passively. That's around the median household income in America. Meaning your portfolio is now capable of producing what millions of households work full-time jobs to earn. And here's the truly insane part. Going from $10,000 to $1 million might take around 30 years. But going from $1 million to $2 million, roughly 10 years. Same strategy, same behavior, same contributions. Why? Because your money is now doing the heavy lifting. At $1 million, a normal market year can add more wealth than most people's salaries. And that's when compounding becomes emotionally surreal. You stop thinking in terms of paychecks. You start thinking in percentages. This is why wealthy people become obsessed with protecting capital. Because once capital reaches critical mass, It behaves like an income-producing machine, and every additional dollar accelerates the system. That's why the second million often arrives dramatically faster than the first. The snowball is enormous now. Gravity is doing almost everything. Here's something the financial industry hates admitting. Simple investing works astonishingly well because complexity is profitable. Boring discipline is not. The reality: most people do not need exotic strategies. They need consistency, a low-cost index fund, automated investing, long time horizon, emotional control. That's it. But simplicity feels unsatisfying. Humans crave excitement, which is why people chase meme stocks, crypto hype, trading gurus, instead of quietly compounding wealth for decades. And ironically, that search for shortcuts usually delays financial freedom, because wealth creation is often painfully uncinematic. No dramatic montage, no overnight breakthrough, just years of discipline nobody applauds, until one day the results become impossible to ignore. That's how real wealth usually appears. Quietly. Then suddenly. There's another problem nobody talks about: comparison. Modern life has made comparison unavoidable. Social media constantly shows people spending money, luxury vacations, designer brands, high-rise apartments, sports cars, and slowly, people begin believing wealth is supposed to look flashy. But actual financial security often looks boring. Emergency funds, retirement accounts, index funds, paid-off debt. None of those things photograph well. Nobody posts, "Just maxed out my Roth IRA again." But financially? That boring decision matters infinitely more than temporary status signaling. And here's the dangerous part. Comparison changes spending behavior. People increase expenses to maintain appearances, which means their freedom gets delayed year after year. Some people spend their entire lives looking rich while remaining financially fragile underneath. One layoff away from panic. That's not wealth, that's performance. Real wealth reduces anxiety. Fake wealth increases it. Most people misunderstand financial freedom. The goal is not necessarily quitting work forever. The goal is eliminating forced dependence. There's a massive difference. Some financially free people still work, but they work differently. They choose projects carefully. They negotiate aggressively. They leave toxic environments quickly because they no longer operate from survival. That's the hidden superpower money creates. Not luxury. Leverage. The ability to say no. No to bad treatment. No to exploitative jobs. No to desperation. And the earlier you build this leverage, the more your entire life changes. Because fear quietly shapes countless decisions. Career choices, relationships, health, risk tolerance. Financial runway changes all of them. So what's the actual formula? It's simpler than people want it to be. Increase income, control lifestyle inflation, automate investing, buy productive assets consistently, stay invested during downturns, give compounding time. That's the formula. And yes, it sounds boring, because reality usually is. But boring, executed consistently, becomes extraordinary. And that's what people fail to understand. Extraordinary outcomes rarely require extraordinary actions. They require ordinary actions, repeated for extraordinary lengths of time. That's how fortunes are built, not through intensity, through duration. One day, your future self will look back at the financial decisions you're making right now, and one of two things will happen. Either they'll thank you for enduring the slow phase, or they'll wonder why you kept trading long-term freedom for temporary comfort. Because eventually, compound interest stops looking like numbers. It starts looking like choices. The choice to leave, The choice to rest. The choice to spend time with family. The choice to walk away from fear. And that's the part people misunderstand. Wealth is not really about money. Money is just the tool. The real product being purchased is control over your life. And the people who achieve it are rarely the smartest. They are simply the people who kept pushing the snowball when it still looked small, while everyone else quit. So if you remember one thing from this video, remember this: the formula works, but only if you stay in the game long enough for it to become unfair. And someday, possibly much sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize your money has finally started working harder than you do. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more high-level finance psychology and wealth-building content. And comment below, what financial milestone are you currently chasing? $10,000? $100,000? $1 million? I read every comment. And remember, the people who build real wealth aren't always the highest earners. They're the people who stayed consistent long enough for compounding to take control. See you in the next video.